Prices interacting with prior New York session memory. The hourly boundary defines containment. The 15-minute chart defines response. On February 13th, the New York session anchor formed between the lower boundary of the February 11th Asia session and the midpoint of the February 12th New York session anchor. That placement matters. It positioned the session inside previously processed structure rather than beyond it. From that location, expansion followed. The upper boundary of the February 13th New York anchor was taken. Then the February 12th New York anchor was processed through. Continuation extended toward the upper region of the February 10th New York session, slightly above the lower boundary of the February 5th New York session. This movement did not occur in isolation. The 20-period Bollinger Band upper boundary was exceeded. The 120 moving average was crossed with slope increasing. Price reached the upper boundary of the 4-period Bollinger Band during expansion. Distance widened. Volatility expanded. Persistence was visible. The 4-period band reacted first. Its upper boundary flattened after contact. Price returned inside the 20-period Bollinger envelope. That re-entry shifted behavior. Expansion slowed. Duration replaced acceleration. The 20-period Bollinger lower boundary began rising. The 120 moving average advanced toward it. Slope turned positive on both. Distance narrowed. Compression began forming after expansion. This is not reversal language. It is structural digestion. Expansion requires persistence to relocate. Without persistence, it stabilizes. Stabilization introduces compression. Compression reshapes slope. The hourly range now contains the prior surge. Upper extremes were tested. Continuation has paused. Flat states dominate here. Movement is smaller. Bands contract. When bands contract, volatility is being stored rather than released. The 20-period and 120-period averages are moving toward interaction. Their distance no longer widens. Slope is still upward. But acceleration is not. This difference matters. Acceleration relocates. Slope maintains memory. Price is now processing inside the area previously expanded into. The hourly structure has not relocated beyond February 10th memory. It is negotiating within it. Duration defines consequence. Short bursts do not define structure. Persistence does. As long as price remains inside the hourly containment established after February 13th expansion, behavior dominates over direction. This is structural weight, not momentum language. The upper boundary has been visited. The lower boundary has risen. The range has narrowed. Compression is forming near elevated territory. That is different from compression at lows. Context changes weight. Higher territory compression implies digestion of prior expansion. It does not imply continuation. It does not imply rejection. It describes processing. The structure remains contained inside previously established New York anchors. Until relocation occurs with duration, this remains negotiation within memory. The hourly boundary still defines space. Volatility is shifting inside a prior hourly range. The session anchor from February 15th Asia formed between the midpoint of the February 11th New York session and the upper boundary of the February 12th New York session. That placement situates the Asia anchor inside established New York structure. Asia did not extend beyond it. It stabilized inside it. Containment preceded movement. Following formation, price interacted repeatedly with the 120 moving average. The 20 moving average provided nearby support. Both averages began converging. Distance between them narrowed. Slope aligned upward. Interaction intensified. This convergence produced structural tension, not acceleration, not relocation. The 20-period Bollinger Band narrowed. The 4-period Bollinger Band compressed as well. Upper and lower boundaries moved closer together. Compression dominated for several sequences. Candles overlapped. Wicks shortened. Flat states extended across multiple 15-minute intervals. No expansion followed immediately. Duration formed without displacement. Inside this range, micro-transitions appeared. Price attempted minor expansion above the Asia anchor upper boundary. It returned inside quickly. That was a short-lived extension. Not persistent engagement. The hourly boundary still holds structural weight. The 15-minute behavior fluctuates inside it. Lower time frame movement negotiates around the anchor. This is hierarchy in motion. Hourly defines containment. 15-minute defines response. When the 20 and 120 moving averages approach cross-interaction, structural alignment changes character. Distance reduction reduces volatility. Cross-interaction may increase duration. But interaction alone does not define relocation. Persistence must follow. Currently, compression precedes potential transition. 3 consecutive compression sequences confirm that volatility is being stored. Bands remain narrow. The 4-period band reacts first to minor fluctuations. Its contractions are sharper. Its expansions are brief. The 20-period band responds slower. Its narrowing reflects sustained reduction in volatility. Its slope still leans upward. This creates layered tension. Short-term fluctuation. Intermediate stabilization. The Asia anchor remains inside the broader New York processing zone. It has not relocated the hourly boundary. It negotiates within it. Microstate shifts occur near the 20 moving average repeatedly. Price dips toward it. It returns above it. These repeated engagements indicate local acceptance. But acceptance inside containment is not relocation. It is stabilization. The 120 moving average rising beneath price reinforces this containment. Distance between price and 120 megaamperes is moderate, not stretched. When stretch is absent, expansion probability decreases. When compression persists, duration increases. Duration reshapes slope. Slope and distance now move toward balance, not imbalance. The 15-minute chart reflects this through narrowing Bollinger envelopes and smaller candle bodies. Range contraction is visible. Volatility is quieter, yet structure is not absent. It is consolidating. Lower time-frame fluctuations continue. Hourly boundaries still frame them. No contradiction exists. Interaction remains inside prior New York memory. Containment remains intact. Compression continues to develop. Expansion has transitioned into compression near prior session highs. The February 13th New York advance reached toward the upper region of February 10th structure. It contacted elevated territory. It did not extend beyond it with duration. Following contact, the 4-period Bollinger upper boundary flattened. Price returned inside the 20-period envelope. Acceleration reduced. This re-entry marked stabilization. Stabilization introduces balance. Balance reduces volatility. Since then, the 20-period Bollinger lower boundary has risen toward the 120 moving average. Their slopes align upward. Their distance decreases. Convergence creates structural compression. Compression near highs carries different weight than compression near lows. Context defines interpretation. In this case, compression forms inside prior New York containment, not beyond it, not below it. The hourly structure therefore reflects digestion of expansion, not failure, not continuation. On the 15-minute layer, repeated minor advances above local resistance lack persistence. They return inside range quickly. Duration is short. Short duration limits structural consequence. Longer duration defines relocation. The Asia session anchor on February 15th remains central to this compression. Price oscillates around it. Acceptance alternates with minor rejection. This oscillation reflects negotiation, not imbalance. The 20 and 120 moving averages approach cross-interaction. When they interact, structural slope may realign. But interaction alone is not extension. The Bollinger envelopes remain narrow. Narrow envelopes indicate stored volatility. Stored volatility requires time. Flat states dominate several sequences consecutively. Candles overlap repeatedly. Wicks shorten further. No sustained directional engagement has developed beyond hourly boundaries. Containment persists. Processing continues. The higher structural weight remains defined by February 10th and February 12th New York anchors. Price operates inside that field. It has not relocated beyond it. Lower time frame fluctuations respond to minor imbalance. They fail to sustain distance. They return to mean. Mean interaction strengthens compression. Compression reshapes duration. Duration precedes transition. Until persistence extends beyond the hourly containment, with sustained engagement, the structure remains in negotiation between elevated memory and rising internal support, processing volatility inside narrowing bands and converging averages.